Hello, so you probably clicked on this video because you are a parent with small children or a new parent, or you just in that phase where you have a toddler who has just gotten on your very last nerve. I get it. My name is Ebony. I am a woman in my 30s, and that's what we talk about here. Life in our 30s, up to this point, and walking to the beat of your own drum. What does that mean? Whoever you are, whoever you want to be, you can be it, and who you are is good enough. So anyway, we are talking about parenting young kids. Now I want you to understand something. You're going to see a lot of parenting advice all over the internet. You have probably seen it on TV and all of that good stuff. I am not an expert. I am just a mother who has gotten up to this point. I can't tell you anything past teenage years because I am currently in it. So I don't have any advice or tips. And I want you to understand something as well. Take what you need and leave the rest. If something that I am saying you have tried, it doesn't work for you, it doesn't align with you, that is perfectly okay. Every parent who has become a parent, you're just starting out. You're just doing it. You have no clue how to do the thing in this job description because this is your first time doing it. So there's a lot of things that you're going to try that is not going to work for you. And this may be one of those things. And I just wanted to share what has gotten me to this point, the type of things that I have picked up along the way from just learning myself or from other people, because I was in this parenting group or in this mom's group, like a meetup, because I do feel like you need to be in spaces, where you can relate to other people. So I was in this mom's group one time, and I was an older mom, meaning that my children were older, and a lot of the moms my age, they were just starting out, which I think is beautiful. But they were kind of like, okay, what did you do? How did you do it? And that is so important to be able to learn from each other. So that's essentially what this is, just learning, just hearing what has gotten me up into this point. And if you can take some of it, hey, take some of it. I'm here for it. But the main thing that I want you to understand from this is consistency. Whatever it is that you are trying, you have to be consistent at it. Whatever it is, however you feel your child receives information and learns and things like that, you have to be consistent at it, because nothing that you try that you feel like may work for you is actually going to work if you are not consistent. That is the main thing. So what is the word for this whole video, for the day, for the year, for the month? Consistency. You have to be consistent. And don't we hate hearing that word consistent? Because you gotta be consistent at everything in life. I feel like nothing in life really works unless you're consistent at it. And so that is no exception when it comes to parenting your young child. Let me tell you, I want to tell you this story because I want you to know that you are not alone, you're not crazy, and that even the people that have figured it out had to figure it out. So there was a journey into that figuring out phase. I remember when one of my children were young. By the time I had two children, I have two children, but I had both of them. And we were going to church. We were going to church every Sunday. And my son would literally just be acting out in church, and I'm a young mother. Because of my husband's career, we're not near family. So I had to really get through this by myself and kind of learn what to do and what worked for my children. And I grew up in the deep South with, going to church with my grandmother and things like that, and learning how to, I guess, act in church. Like to this day, I know how to act when I go in a church service. I know how to act anywhere because of my grandmother. But it made me think one day, it was her consistency, and it was in the way that she parented. You could listen. you could take my grandmother's parenting, and a lot of people in that time's parenting, you're like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not, that's not the way I parent. But the way she chose to parent, she was consistent at it. And I remember being in church, and I would act up every Sunday because I hated being in church. I literally hated it. And that's a different story now, but I hated being in church, and it was boring, and I just wanted to be who I wanted to be and do what I wanted to do. And so every Sunday, my grandmother would take me out of church and parent me the way she parented, until, one day when I was as an older child, teenager, even to, now being adult, I know how to act in church. But with all that being said, and the reason I told you that is because one day my son, when in my earlier years of parenting him, he was the one that kept me on my toes. I mean, just his personality was, and still to this day, it's kind of really headstrong. He's a lot more calmer. He knows how to regulate a little bit, like his headstrongness, type of thing. He's still very just, analytical in the way that he is, but he's a lot better in behavior wise. Like, they complement each other now. But anyway, so he kept me on my toes every time we would go to church, and I was like, how do I parent this boy? I would take him out, take him in the bathroom, try to calm him down, till one day I ended up just like, I was so frustrated that I was in tears in the bathroom with him, like, why can't you just act like you were supposed to act? But first of all, he's a toddler, okay? Duh. And two, it was just frustrating for me as a parent to be able to parent him and get him to at least, I know he's not going to sit still and do all this, but it was just like, to me at that time, it just felt like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. To the point where I ended up one Sunday, I was just crying, and I just packed up all my little children's belongings in tears and just walked out of the church and was like, I'm not going to church for a while. Like, I can't do this with this child. I'm trying to get Jesus and grow my relationship with God and be a parent, be a wife, and be all these things. And my child is in here acting like he don't have sense. I don't understand. What is it? And so I tell you that story because I want you to know that you're not alone, and it's perfectly fine to be frustrated, and it's perfectly fine to not grasp reality that you are raising a young child who is not going to do all the things that you want them to do, because they are learning the world. They are learning their personality. They are being who they are supposed to be at that age. So give yourself grace and give your child grace. And one of the other tips is, don't be embarrassed. Okay? Because you feel like when you're in a store and your child is acting out and you get all, embarrassed because, no, don't do that. Whatever preconceived notions that you have had growing up and people telling you your child is not supposed to be this way, especially in the Black community, especially if you grew up Southern like I did, or just from a stern, strict family who just really policed how children are supposed to act. You carry that with you into parenting, and you really don't have a great visual on how kids are supposed to like act at their age, and that is perfectly fine for them to just kind of be a little, figuring out the world type of people. That's okay. So we kind of lose that reality in growing up. I mean, in parenting our children. And I am not what you would call a gentle parent. I think that word kind of gets a little lost on people in terms of how they think, gentle parents are. And it's very like, calming and I would consider myself more of a conscious parent. I'm very conscious of And I've learned to be that way over the years. But I'm very conscious of my kids' personalities, their emotions, how I speak to them, how I parent them. I'm very conscious of those things, and I want to be conscious. But I'm very much so also the authority. My husband and I, like, I want you to know that we are the authority in our home, and that you are to respect this authority. Because also, in just being conscious of my children, I want to respect them as well. And I want them to know that they are respected, and that they are to be respected in any space that they're in. So that's kind of how I parent, and how I've been parenting this whole time. Like, my kids are people. I love them, and I want other people to treat them like respectable people. Like, no, like, you gonna treat my children well. And so that's kind of how I parent them. But back to, if you have younger children, we talked about being consistent, and we talked about them having grace. The other thing is, you want to know, Ebony, okay, my baby is acting up in the store. Okay, what you got for that? My baby, my toddler, the person that I birthed, is acting up in the store. What do you do for that? And I'm going to tell you, we talked about giving them grace, but also eye level. Now look at me. If you are listening to this, I am looking into the camera because this is also on YouTube. But if you are watching me, look at me looking at you. I get eye level with my children. And when they are in the store and they feel like they are at their wits' end, I get eye level with them. And I say what I need to say. And I don't raise my voice, but I am very stern. And do you hear the dictation in my voice, the way that I am speaking? This is how I talk to my children, and how I talk to them. And this is something that I learned. Like, I don't have to yell. So say my kid is acting up or whatever. And if you have children that hit and whatever, you may kind of want to hold their hands, down to their chest or whatever, because I didn't have hitters. That's just not, they just knew, okay, that's not what we do. But there are kids that hit, that's something that they have learned to do. So you kind of want to hold their hands down gently, get eye level, and speak to them sternly. This is not the way we act in the store. We are almost done. I understand that you're ready to go, but calm down. And that's just something I would say. If you listen to a parenting expert, they may tell you, don't say that, don't do this. I'm just telling you what I do. I'm just telling you how I do it. I'm telling you what works for me. If you have tried this and it don't work for you, then you are more than capable and able and have the autonomy to choose what works for you. But this is what works for me. I get eye level with them, and I tell them, hey, now, this is not the way we're going to act in the store. And I don't whisper it. Okay? I don't whisper. And I'm like, hey, this is not the way we're going to act in the store. Because kids aren't pets. Follow me. Okay? Just follow me for a second. Kids aren't pets. And pets aren't kids. But I said this to say, if you think about the tone in your voice, if you're always talking to your kids or your pets or whatever, in this really just soft tone, I do feel like kids recognize tones. And so that's my other thing. Do not always yell at your kids, because they kind of become immune to it. So the tone of your voice matters to me. To me, I feel like the tone of your voice matters. So choose when you use the tone of your voice. So we talked about consistency. We talked about eye level. We're talking about tone now. The tone of your voice matters. So if you're in a store and you're using your soft voice when you really want to mean business, but you also don't want to yell, you need to use your stern voice. Okay? Choose when you use it. Don't be using your soft voice all the time, and don't be using your tone voice all the time. And I feel like that you might think this is hard, but it really isn't, to just speak to your children in a tone in which they can just decipher how serious you are, or when you're being playful and things like that. I feel like it's the tone of your voice. And so when you're in a space, when you're in public and you're using a stern tone, it's not a whisper tone. It's a tone that means business. It's a tone that says that I'm not embarrassed to basically check this behavior right now. Here's the other point. Here it is. I think we're about at 5 tips now. Here's the other tip. Address the situation when it happens. Don't be like, oh, I'm about to take you out of the store. Unless you need to. Okay, unless you're going to wait for later. Everything is not perfect. It's not a one size fits all. But try your best to address the situation right there. Because using your tone that is not a whisper, that other people may overhear. It doesn't matter. That lets your child know, I am not embarrassed to check you now. I am not embarrassed by your behavior, because you are a kid. You are learning the world. I am the authority. I understand what you're doing. It's okay. Because I think a lot of parents begin to fold and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. And your child, like, they are learning the world. They are learning you. And they see you kind of fold a little bit. And they're like, oh, I can't explain what she is, but she looked like she might be embarrassed that I'm doing this. And now I kind of have a little bit of the upper hand. And as far as the way that I'm acting. So when we're in the store, this is the way that I would act. So tone, consistency, eye level. Now another thing. Okay, we got all that out the way. Okay. Snacks and entertainment. If you are in the store and you don't have snacks and entertainment, I don't know what you're doing in your life. I really don't. If you're in a store or in a public place and you don't have snacks and entertainment, you do not have to have, I know a lot of parents now don't like, the phone or electronics. For me, I'm just telling you what I did. I do not mind electronics in the store. It really kept my kids quiet. I chose my battles. That's what worked for me. If you are not an electronic type of person, I understand that. If your child draws, when I would take my kids to church, back to the church thing, I'm like, hey, draw in church. I pray something trickles down on you, because a lot of churches, not a lot, some churches didn't have children's church. So if we were visiting a church, or going to a church because we were moving around or whatever, and they didn't have children's church, now that had become a staple for me. But then when I was figuring it all out, if they didn't have a children's church, hey, pencil, pad, markers, not markers, but crayons, or something that you can do, blocks in church that will keep you busy. If you need a little car, I saw a lady recently at a church that I was visiting. She had like a little Ziploc bag of all the things to keep her child entertained, because she knew that there wasn't like a children's church or anything like that. Definitely do that. Okay. Definitely do that. I wouldn't have no loud stuff, things that sing or whatever, but blocks or something, and give yourself grace again to know that it may make a little noise, but you're doing what you have to do to, because that's a place that you want to go. You want to go to church. That's something that you chose to do, and you want to do it, and you want to do it with your children. You can't leave them anywhere, blah, blah, and you want your children in church. Then you do what you have to do. So I would have those type of things, and I would have, my phone or whatever, a tablet, to keep my kids busy, and you can give them whatever apps and whatever learning things that you want to do, to keep them in church, keep them entertained in church. Now, I have seen some people, have the headphones on their kids. That's not something that I personally did. I did kind of want them to understand the essence of church, and so that was kind of my boundary. But if that's not a boundary of yours, and you want to have something playing on the tablet where your child can hear, while they're kind of learning the steps of church. 'Cause if you have a 2-year-old toddler and you want to put them in the headphones and play, Miss Rachel or Tabitha Brown, whatever it is that your child likes, if that works for you and you're okay with that, do it. Okay, we are trying to make it through the toddler years successfully and respectfully, just parenting our kids, because one day you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, I did the things that I can include my child with. I enjoyed them. They were children. I got through it. And because you want to enjoy these years as well, and you want to get through it at the same time. Okay, there's nothing wrong with wanting to get through it, and you also kind of want to slow down and just savor it the best way you can. So you're just doing the things that work for you. You're doing the things that are helping you to get through it. So I also knew that when I took my child like in a store or something, here's another tip. Do not go down the toy aisle. Why are you doing it? Why are you torturing yourself? Don't go past it if you don't have to. Turn your child's head if if it's something over there and you have to go down the toy aisle or around it or whatever. Keep them entertained so they're not focused on it, because the stores are a big playground to kids. It's so much going on. There's so much stimulation. Don't go down the toy aisle. And also, I know it feels like, I don't want my child to like tell me what to do, but I mean, you kind of on their time a little bit, okay? So if you have to go in the store and your child only got a good 10-15 minutes before they flip out, then you better know what you're going in this store for and go in those 10 to 15 minutes. Because one of my children, I knew that at the 10-minute mark when they were a toddler, that if we made it past 10 minutes, then it was going to be the time that I needed to use all my resources to make it past those 10 minutes. I knew that I had 10 minutes in a store, Not to say that I never spent past 10 minutes in a store, but I'm saying, like, I just picked up on my child's cues. Like, I just knew this is what I have to do to get by in this stage, and that is perfectly fine. So we talked about addressing stuff, entertainment, snacks, limit the time that you are in the store, and also listen to your kids. Pick up on their cues. What's wrong? What's the matter? Are they overstimulated in the store because you've been there a long time? Are you going down the toy aisle? Are they upset about something? They're going to get upset. It's perfectly fine. How many times are we going to talk about that in this episode? Okay? How many times am I going to tell you you're not alone? How many times you need to hear that? How many times you need to hear that? You're not alone. It's perfectly fine. Don't be embarrassed. Your kids are going to be kids, but let them know that you are the authority by the tone of your voice, eye level, and listen to them. Listen to them when they speak. Listen to their concerns and really look like you listening. Or, appear like you listening and taking it in, what's bothering them. Oh, my foot hurts. Your foot hurts? Why does your foot hurt? What did you do? And you can do these things while walking in the store, because sometimes kids just want you to hear whatever is popping up in their mind, and they want you to be interested in it. So it comes to that as well. Talk to your children if you're in a store and not in a place where you have to, be quiet, like church or a program or something like that. But if you can talk to them, have conversation with them. Because one thing mothers are great at is multitasking. So just have little conversations with them. Of course, include them in the shopping, include them in the experience, ask them questions. That kind of keeps their mind entertained as well. Always, like I said, always have a little snack, a little cracker. I never went anywhere without something my child can put in their mouth. And of course, we know, try to go places around nap time. It's a struggle, really, just revolving your life around your kids. It really is. but it's something that you will manage and that you will get through. It's kind of like you got to put your time in, sis. You got to put your time in and get through that phase of life. But I promise you, it's worth it. Your children are worth it, and you will make it through that phase. Because let me tell you, I'm going to tell you what's on the other side, okay? It is something just amazing about not having to lock your kids in some type of car seat. I'm not telling you when to put your child in a car seat. Look at your regulation, what's safe for your child, blah, blah, blah. But once you make it through all of that, okay? Once you make it through that phase where your child is old enough and to be safe in the car and all that good stuff, and they don't have to have a car seat or a booster seat or any of that stuff, and they could just lock themselves in, even if they have a booster seat, and they could just, the point is, when your child can get in the seat and lock themselves in, oh my gosh. Because when you come out of that phase of always having to click your child in a car seat, you just be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even want to go anywhere. I don't want to take you to the store. I just want to stay in the house because I got to get your bag. I got to get snacks, entertainment. I got to lock you in the seat, put you in, take you out, figure out when to put you in the car seat. So I don't go to jail, so people don't think you just sitting in the car, because I gotta take the buggy back or the cart back in the little stall thing. Do I leave the cart in the middle of the cars? And that's one thing that my husband cannot stand. He cannot stand somebody to leave their cart in the middle of some cars because the thing is too far away. I don't know reasons to why people do that, but I know sometimes, or all the reasons, but I know sometimes it might be a mom who's trying to figure out, okay, I got my child in the car. I need to take the buggy back. The buggy is, or I call it buggy, but the shopping cart or whatever, little stall thing is all the way over there. What do I do? Because it's either too hot, too cold. Like the number of things that moms think about that sometimes dads just be like, that's an easy thing to do, you know? Or, you know, whatever. Moms are always thinking 500 steps ahead, 500 steps back, 500 steps all around. Like, we are just going. So anyway, I get it. But on the other side of that, when you don't have to lock your child in a car seat, or they can do it themselves, it is the most freeing thing ever in life. Okay, so there's going to be a time where you reach that stage where your child can just get in, lock themselves in, put their seatbelts on, and y'all can just get in and out of the car. Look forward to it. It's coming. But you just got to put your time in now, and you will make it through. You're not alone. And, you know, so I hope these tips helped you on going into the store or in public places with your child. Try them out for, you know, a few months or whatever consistency means to you. But you have to be consistent in the thing that you are trying. Let your child know that you are the authority. Okay, you literally can't change your diaper. You can't do anything without me. Your child got to know that. That's my whole thing. Like, you can't do anything without me. I need for you to know that. Okay, but you know, anyway. That's all I gotta say. Follow me on herlifeonpurpose.com. That is my website if you want to know more. Her Life on Purpose on all social media. And I want you guys to have the most amazing day. Keep walking to the beat of your own drum. And 30s is beautiful. Enjoy it. Enjoy motherhood and all that good stuff. All right. Bye.